Support me on Patreon, patreon.com/mtgbooks. Chapter 19, Bombs for Phyrexia.
There it is. See?
Said the blind seer somewhat absurdly. He jabbed a withered old finger beyond the prow rail. Wind tore at his white hair and old robes.
Lenoir!
Yes, Gerard responded grimly. The vast forest spread in all directions beneath Weatherlight's bow. Lanoir's once green crown was black with Phyrexian corruption. Spidery figures moved in mass through the great canopy. Above, in blue air and white cloud, huge black shapes clustered. From them dropped thousands of bombs. There were no aerial defenders here. With impunity, the monsters rained plague down on the forest. Gerard leaned to the prow speaking tube. "Battle stations, everyone. Signal the fleet. Prepare to engage those... whatever those ships are." Turning to the blind seer, Gerard said, "Thanks for the tip. With Benalia fallen, Lanoir especially will need our help." "Help them and help yourself," the old man said cryptically from the shadows of his broad hat. Gerard's brow furrowed. "We could have been here hours sooner if I were able to find you. Where were you?" "I live in half-truth and half-in-dream," the man replied evenly. "When I cannot be found in the one, I can be found in the other." Gerard sighed, shaking his head as he strode toward the port-side ray cannon. "You've wasted time." The seer took a deep breath and murmured, "I never waste time." Gerard strapped himself into his gunner's harness. He powered up the machine and turned it through all three axes. Across the forecastle, Tongarth did likewise. The two Emmonships gunners climbed into position. Crew scrambled across the decks and up into the bridge. Turning in his traces, Gerard glanced toward the bridge. He saw a familiar figure clamber into the navigator's seat. "What the?" he hissed, flipping open the speaking tube. "Hannah, what are you doing in there?" "My job," her response came curtly through the tube. "You've called battle stations, Commander." "You can't navigate in your condition." "Take us up, Sissy," Hannah called suddenly. "Those aren't ships." Gerard turned about, seeing the black, hovering mass in the clouds. No, they weren't ships. They were nothing at all. Holes opening and closing in the sky. Weatherlight pitched backward and rose. The clustered shapes shrank to a long, thin, horizontal line. They seemed the surfaces of lakes, seen on edge for a moment as the ship emerged from below. Weatherlight soared higher. Beneath her, the line spread out into a cluster of shifting shapes. "What are they?" Gerard asked. "Portals," Hannah shot back. "Small portals, thousands of them. They're weak, not like the ones we've seen before. Each creates a mild spatio-temporal distortion. Together, the effect is massive." Weatherlight vaulted up over the portals. From above, they didn't seem much holes in the fabric of reality as blurred areas like a wavering of heat energy off gray coals. Beneath those shimmering spots, mechanical spheres hurtled down. They gave out long screams in their descent to the canopy. There, they crashed and spewed disease payloads. Hannah's voice came again. "They each can transport perhaps a few hundred pounds of material before shutting down. Together, they'll destroy the forest with plague." That word on her lips made Gerard angry. He drew a breath and gritted his teeth. "Signal the fleet! Open fire!" His own gun was the first to bark. Crimson energy burst from the steaming muzzle, as bright as heart blood and as hot as lava. Gaseous plasma surged out to smash against the field of scintillating spheres. It engulfed a dozen of the small portals and ripped through the spaces between them. Fire spoke also from Tongarth's gun, the two cannons amidships, the belly gun, and squeeze artillery at the tail. Lines of power steamed down from Weatherlight. The surges were joined by the multifarious attacks of her armada. Hoppers sent orange fire, helionauts blue. Plasma bolts, lightning blasts, disruption fields, energy poured down on the portals. Gerard gave a whoop, unloading shot after shot. It felt good to be fighting again, blazing through the invaders. "It's no good, Commander," shouted Hannah over the speaking tube. "The portals don't exist on this side. We can't destroy them from above. We have to fly below to risk plague contamination. Up here, we're just destroying the forest." Standing in his traces, Gerard peered down over the rail. The flak of their shot ate through the canopy, vaporizing wood and setting the forest ablaze. "Seize fire!" Gerard shouted. "Signal the fleet! Seize fire!" As his cannon darkened, Gerard's mood did likewise. How could he fight an enemy he couldn't shoot? These portals were too small to fly through, too numerous to shut down, too intermittent to predict, too deadly to fly beneath. The Phyrexian had learned how to defeat Gerard. They had paid in glistening oil for Dominaria, but they had bought it. Now they would buy Llanowar without shedding a drop. His voice was heavy as he leaned toward the speaking tube. "Suggestions?" "Say again, Commander?" Sisay asked for them all. "Suggestions. I want suggestions. How can we fight these portals?" Only silence answered from the speaking tubes. Beneath Weatherlight, the glimmering sea of portals slid away. Only the mournful wind and the whine of the fleet's engine spoke in the hush. "Shall we bring the fleet about for another pass?" Sisay asked quietly. "Or shall we ship for another battle elsewhere?" "I don't know," Gerard replied. "I don't know." Aurum stood on the poop deck, gazing aft. She had clambered topside in hopes of dragging Hannah from her post. The impossibility of that quest was soon clear. The impossibility of this battle was clear as well. "Bring us about." Gerard's voice came sullenly through the tubes. "There must be something we're missing." Aurum shook her head in empathy. She had repeated those same words countless times as she stared at the rot that was killing Hannah. "There must be something I'm missing." It was Aurum's own impossible battle. Without Hannah, how would the ship find her way? How would Aurum and Sisay find their way? And Gerard, he would be utterly lost. Already they were lost. The ship roared out above Llanowar, trailing its faithful fleet close behind. They cruised above the field of portals. Not a gun woke fire on these devices. They seemed to form a placid and illimitable sea. Water. It triggered memories of a far-off place, of Chomano and the Choarum and their water magic. When she had left her beloved, she had sworn to take the power of the waters with her. Aurum gazed at the shimmering portals. How could she find power in such black waters? If only she could meditate, could draw from the reservoirs within her, perhaps she could find a cure to this plague. Aurum gazed down in desolation at the portals. Weatherlight stirred a strong, long wake in the portals. Suddenly, Aurum knew. It was a simple thing, the sort of thing Hannah and Sisay would understand implicitly. Spinning on her heels, Aurum rushed to the bridge door. She flung it back and descended. The cramped room buzzed with activity. Gerard had arrived on the bridge to consult with Sisay at the helm. Reports poured out the speaking tubes that blossomed here and there. The metallic voice of Karn asked for attack status. The signal officer relayed other ships' queries. Ensigns scrambled up through the lower hatch and back. Hannah was busiest of all. She worked feverishly at her navigation console. The compass and stylus that walked across the chart of Llanowar dragged telltale lines of red in their wake. Her fingers were knotted in crimson where she clutched her own belly wound. Aurum's breath caught at the sight. Blood did not bother her. Its implications did, especially these implications. Rushing to Hannah's station, Aurum knelt, grabbing her friend's arm. "Hannah, you have to get below." "I can't," she snapped, her voice more exhausted than annoyed. "You can, once we get rid of these portals." "Get rid of?" "We couldn't plane shift to Benalia because of the 3 portals over it. You said they caused spatio-temporal distortions that shunted us to the side." "Yeah, but what is all this?" "Our own shift envelope is much stronger than any of these. Even at normal speeds, we leave a wake in the portals below. If we were to..." "Yeah," Hannah said. Despite the horrible pallor of her face, a brief and beautiful flush came to her cheeks. "Sisay! Captain, take us up!" Without question, Sisay drew back on the helm. Weatherlight responded as though the ship were her own body. Even Karn ceased his questions below, seeming to understand. Only Gerard was caught off guard. He went to one knee and spilled against the bridge stanchions. His face smashed against the bulwark. Jiggling his head, Gerard growled out, "What is it, danger?" Hannah laughed dryly. "Only for Phyrexians." Standing placidly at the helm, Sisay shouted over her shoulder, "What's your plan, Hannah?" "A nosedive," Navigator returned. "Right through the portal sea. We'll see how many we can drag away in our slipstream." A grin lit Sisay's face. "I like it." Gerard, better call off the fleet. Tell him to circle and wait for our return. Clawing his way forward, Gerard rubbed a lump under his beard. Wait a minute, what are you three planning? Just the salvation of Llanowar, Sissy said lightly. More power, Karn. She steered the ship into a near vertical climb. The air grew thin all around. Clouds dragged away from Weatherlight's raked airfoils. You asked for suggestions. With a rueful nod, Gerard clutched the speaking tubes and barked. Signal the fleet. Tell them to circle until further orders. That's a dear, Sissy said. Hannah, how's our position? Peering through the sight arrays that jutted above her navigation desk, Hannah replied, Yaw 4 degrees port and let the keel cut for another 1,000 feet and we'll be ready for the dive. We have the velocity for a shift? Sissy asked. Velocity won't be a problem. It's whether we got time between the portals and the treetops before we crash, Hannah replied easily. Sissy laughed. That's the kind of problem I like. Here we go. She shoved the helm hard to fore. Weatherlight's engines seized for a moment. She lolled upward in a weightless arc, rolling her stern skyward. Dominaria swept smoothly from aft to fore. Squee, still strapped to the stern gun, squealed as his feet swept out toward the sun. Then, greedy and inexorable, Dominaria grasped Weatherlight and yanked her down. Creaks ran stem to stern. The prow seemed to stretch away from amidships and from bridge and spankers. The airfold folded tight along the centerline, spilling air instead of grabbing it. Weatherlight plunged. Squee was still squealing. Even so, his view of the skies was not as terrifying as everyone else's view of the land. Llanowar seemed a leopard, crouched to spring. Weatherlight's engines engaged. Intakes dragged a deep breath. A white-hot column of energy formed within the engine. Fire bursts from exhausts to the ship's terminal velocity came in patient force, ramming it down. Llanowar sprung. The forest roared up to swallow the ship. Its rot-black treetops groped into the sky. The sea of portals seemed only a slim membrane above that reaching place. In moments, Weatherlight would punch through the portals and into the treetops. Shift aware, Sissy shouted over the roar of the engines. Course is laid in, Hannah called back. A place in need of Phyrexian bombs. There's no more time. Weatherlight impacted the plane of portals. They swept from prow to poop in a heartbeat. Spatiotemporal stresses clawed across the deck. Bombs, half emerged, hung in countless portals, too slow to catch up with Weatherlight. Squee and the folded wings cleared the portals. Shift! Sissy shouted, staring at the ground as it soared up to meet them. The ship hurtled all the faster. Wind tore at her rails. The black treetops resolved into individual bows, and the ruined houses on those bows and the running figures among them. A jump envelope welled out from the forespar. It swept a wide wake, encompassing thousands of portals. Shift! Sissy shouted once last. An enormous bow rushed up to smash through Weatherlight's windscreen, except that no bow remained. Black and green had given way to jittering gray. Beyond the ship's rail, the envelope rattled. It held back the hissing, glaring emptiness between the worlds. Chaos churned and spun. Nightmare forms reared their heads out of darkness and dissolved again before they were fully created. Lines jagged away in recursive ribbons. There seemed to be no more horrible place in all the multiverse. Until chaos transformed at last, solidifying into torturous wrath. Overhead, red clouds roiled like boiling blood. Below, red rills coiled like flayed muscle. Arrayed all across those hellish hills were army after army of Phyrexians, waiting to invade. Weatherlight's plane-shifting envelope dissolved around her. Heat and smoke washed over her prow. Airfolds swept out to grab the bitter air. She slowed, leaving in her boiling wake a field of portals. From those toppling, spinning devices, plague bombs hailed. They fell among the troops arrayed there. Devices meant to slay elves fell instead among the monsters that made them. Many were crushed under the pounding things. Others were mowed down as the spheres bounded across the ground. Bombs rolled to a stop and spewed white spores out across the shrieking hordes. Nice work, ladies! Gerard shouted, whooping. Orym was cradling Hannah's bleeding, unconscious figure in her arms. Get us out of here! Get us back to Llanowar! Gerard staggered across the pitching deck toward the two women. You heard her! He rasped out, kneeling before Hannah and wrapping her in his arms. Plane shift!